I mean, I think that's the biggest fight in the world, especially at this weight division. You know, and that's definitely a fight I want. Like I said, I'm not scared of nobody. This is Monstro's world. And if he wants to get that fight, we get that fight. I don't know why he went to Zuffa. We could have made this fight right after this one. You know, but now I don't know if he got stripped by the IBF or what it is. You know, I'm not going to go over there fight.
Man, that fight's easy to make on our side. You know what I mean? I've been ready. I've been, you know, I've just hear excuses and you know, fucking this and that, you know. Buzz, reach out. How bad do you want to fight? How bad do you want to be undisputed cruiserweight? That's an easy fight to make. Yeah. You know, there's all these little excuses and stuff, but it is what it is.
The Mexican monster against the Australian monster, that's a crazy fight.
Let's make it happen. I'm ready. I'm waiting for the phone call.
How would you, not to give anything away because the fight could happen sooner than later, but how would you see a fight between you and Benavidez going? Would it be toe-to-toe battle?
I don't know. He's never fought no one like me. You know what I mean? He bashed the shit out of this guy that just stood right in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, well, let's just see what happens.
You know, I've been talking to his manager. I've been trying to talk to him. They're not responding to phone calls. I sent Opetaia, listen, I know you want to fight. Help me out. Get me to your manager. Let's talk about this fight. You know, give me here's my number. Tell your manager to call me. Let's make it happen. You know, the thing is sometimes, you know, these fighters, they want to fight, but the managers and the team knows that he's not ready for David. So that's why they're not reaching.
There have been some issues between them. There were some issues. Alberto Leon had some Zooms at the end. They were not able to come to terms. So when the WBC received a petition from our light heavyweight champion, who is David Benavidez, who won the WBA and the WBO Cruiserweight Championship, to fight against Mikaelian, the WBC ruled in favor and ordered Mikaelian to fight against Benavidez.
The two most dangerous men in the cruiserweight division are supposed to be on a collision course, but behind closed doors, a bitter war of words and shady promotional politics are tearing this dream fight apart. Jai Opetaia and David Benavidez both claim they want to prove they are the absolute best in the world, yet a massive roadblock has completely stalled negotiations.
I think that this is really mismanagement borderline from Benavidez. I liked his performance against Zerdo. I really liked his performance against Zerdo.
It reminds me, to be honest with you, Benavidez is reminding me a lot like Shakur Stevenson. Yeah. And I told you why. Shakur Stevenson's body has grown faster than his resume. He moved from 26 to 30 and never established himself at 26. He moved from 30 to 35. He had a good run at 30, so I'll give him that. He moved from 35 to 40 and had never established himself at 35. He's now at 40 and says he's not going back to 35. And he's not fighting at 47, but he wants to fight at 44, which tells me that the fights that you really want are guys at 47.
But you can't make 47.
But you can't make 47, but you don't want to fight at 35. So your body is moving faster than your actual resume is. Whereas it's the same thing with Benavidez. You fought at 68. Unfortunately, not your fault. You never really got the opportunity to fight the best guys at 68. So I'm not going to hold that against you. You fought at 75. And you decided to just jump to cruiserweight. Now you're right.
There was a gap in time, but not as long as it was at 68.
No, that's my point. That's my point. You move to cruiserweight, and the longer you are at cruiserweight, the harder it is for you to then drop back down. And the reason why I agree with you in terms of poor mismanagement is because the line graph is not going in the right.
What started as competitive banter has quickly escalated into serious accusations of ducking, with both camps pointing fingers and leaking conflicting information to the press. Fans are completely torn on who is actually avoiding who. But when you peel back the layers of this boxing drama, a much darker reality about the business of the sport starts to reveal itself. This isn't just about two fighters refusing to step into the ring. It's about network loyalties, massive egos, and a new promotional powerhouse throwing a wrench into everything we know about boxing.
When they see me, they see Jai Opetaia, one of the best boxers in the world. You know, I'm not here to chase fame or someone else or, you know, chase names for clout. I'm chasing undisputed. Even Benavidez, you know, his name's only in the mix is because he's fighting for a cruiserweight title. So if it wasn't fighting for a cruiserweight title, it doesn't bother me. I don't chase names. I'm chasing legacy and and undisputed. You know, not look at the last couple undisputed fighters. They're the fucking goats of this sport.
Yep, that's right.
You know what I mean? And I want my name up there, and I want my last name up there.
Man, Josh,
I like that.
John mean business though. That's why we love you in the States. So you talk about having fans in the States. I'm one of them. I want to ask this though, but how realistic is the fight with David Benavidez? Because it's like we're trying to always, pick the right fights, right? And I think like even the Canelo versus Terrence Crawford, somehow they found that fight out where they both are GOATs type. Terrence Crawford wins. Now he's even up here. Look at Teofimo and Shakur Stevenson, right? Really, really great fighters. But after that win with Shakur, now he's looked at as one of the pound-for-pound guys. I think you're still in that boat where we all think you're a special fighter, right? But it's going to take that one fight to put you over that next hump. And is it realistic to see that against David Benavidez?
I believe it is, especially him being in cruiserweight, and to me, it just makes sense. Like, if he's fighting for a world title in my division, why don't people want to see who the best is in the division? Like, it doesn't not make sense to me if we don't fight. You know what I mean? Like, he's coming up fighting for a undisputed, like a unification fight, and he's going to be holding the WBO and WBA. It just doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't fight. All I got to do is keep winning and keep.
Jai Opetaia took the biggest risk of his career earlier this year, and it might have just cost him everything. In a move that completely shocked the industry, the Australian powerhouse signed an exclusive 3-fight deal with Dana White's newly launched Zuffa Boxing. It was a massive financial win, but the fallout was brutal and immediate. The IBF wasted 0 time stripping Opetaia of his hard-earned world title, effectively punishing him for crossing promotional boundaries. Now, despite holding the inaugural Zuffa belt and the prestigious Ring Magazine title, Opetaia finds himself isolated.
Opetaia signed with Zuffa Boxing earlier this year in January, and in February, it was announced that his debut would be against Brandon Glanton on March 8th at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas. But right away, there was some issues. The official artwork and press release for that fight labeled it as being for the Zuffa World Cruiserweight Championship, with no mention of Opetaia's IBF title. At that point, it was pretty clear that the fight was operating outside of the IBF system, and Zuffa/Dana White had made it clear that working with the sanctioning bodies was not in their business model for Zuffa Boxing. But Opetaia's team and Zuffa actually tried to make this situation work for Jai. Late in February, his co-promoter, Mick Francis, requested that the IBF sanction the fight, but the IBF denied the request. They cited their rules, specifically Rule 5.E.2, which I'm laughing because they got this whole Constitution byline for these things, which only allows unification fights with recognized organizations like the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO. Francis argued that this wouldn't be a unification fight, that the Zuffa belt would simply exist alongside the IBF belt, similar to how the IBO belt has been treated in previous fights. But the IBF didn't see it that way. They said Zuffa Boxing isn't subject to the same regulatory framework as recognized sanctioning bodies. And because of that, they refused to sanction the fight up to that.
Many insiders believe this bold business move accidentally locked him out of the traditional title picture, transforming him from the division's undisputed kingpin into a rogue champion operating entirely outside the established boxing ecosystem.
David Benavidez wants Jai Opetaia next, if that fight could be made. But of course, Jai Opetaia has got a problem that he has to deal with, and that is a big problem because I don't think Jai has made the best decision of his career. Him signing to Zuffa Boxing is not a good decision because now it's going to be really difficult for them to make Opetaia versus Ramirez, and that is the fight that almost every boxing fan wants to see. Like, this fight is what all boxing fans want to see. Jai Opetaia versus David Benavidez. That would be the biggest fight in a cruiserweight division. That would be the biggest fight in a very, very long time because both fighters are really good. Both fighters are red hot and we want to see it. But it's going to be really difficult to make it because Jai has gone to Zuffa Boxing and nobody wants to work with Zuffa Boxing. And David Benavidez just said in an interview that he's not going to fight for Zuffa belt. He said it. He said, I'm not going to fight for Zuffa belt. So they have to find a way to make that unification fight between David Benavidez in Jai Opetaia.
David Benavidez just made the ultimate statement by moving up and knocking out Gilberto Ramirez, but his strict demands outside the ring are causing absolute chaos. By claiming the WBA and WBO cruiserweight titles, the Mexican monster cemented himself as the new dominant force in the weight class. Naturally, fans immediately demanded a unification clash with Opetaia, but Benavidez firmly shut it down. He publicly declared that he will absolutely not step into a Zuffa boxing ring or fight for one of Dana White's newly minted belts. Benavidez cited too much politics and a lack of cross-promotion as his main reasons for walking away from the table. He gave Opetaia a harsh ultimatum. If the Australian truly wants the fight, he has to leave the Zuffa banner and come back to the traditional networks like PBC or DAZN.
We've got a lot of fighters that have crossed another street into the Zuffa world, and in particular, Jai Opetaia. How important is it for you to get a chance to fight him without all the red tape in the way?
I mean, I think that's the biggest fight in the world, especially at this weight division. You know, and that's definitely a fight I want. Like I said, I'm not scared of nobody. This is Monstro's world. And if he wants to get that fight, we get that fight. I don't know why he went to Zuffa. We could have made this fight right after this one. You know, but now I don't know if he got stripped by the IBF or what it is. You know, I'm not gonna go over there and fight for a Zuffa title, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that would be a great fight to make in the future. And I mean, I respect Jai Opetaia a lot. He's a great fighter, and I think he has to come back over here to make these fights happen because, you know, we can't make no fights in Zuffa.
So that's what I wanted to secondarily ask was that, do you feel like fighters are losing their power by going over to Zuffa?
I think that. I mean, yeah, I think they definitely are losing the power. I mean, it's just a lot of politics in that. You know, I think Dana White has showed that he doesn't want to do fights with PBC, DAZN. And I don't want to even feel like, I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting him, but that's just what it looks like from the outside. If we could come to an agreement and make a big fight.
Jai Opetaia isn't staying quiet while his legacy is questioned, and his camp just dropped a massive reality check on Team Benavidez. Opetaia exploded in recent interviews, completely trashing the idea that promotional politics should prevent the two best fighters from going head-to-head. He called out the glaring hypocrisy in Benavidez' stance, pointing out that David is now using the exact same wrong promoter and network issues excuses that Canelo Alvarez allegedly used to avoid fighting Benavidez for years.
But David Benavidez, he got a good win against Zurdo Ramirez, who's someone you called out heavily. I know there was a little back and forth between you and David. Yeah, you're confident that potentially one day you could get that fight on?
Man, that fight's easy to make on our side. You know what I mean? I've been ready. I've been, you know, I'll just hear excuses and you know, fucking this and that. You know, Buzz, reach out. How bad do you want to fight? How bad do you want to be undisputed cruiserweight? That's an easy fight to make. Yeah. You know, there's all these little excuses and stuff, but it is what it is, man. Yeah, I think he's going to take a different path, and I think he's going to take a smarter path, to be honest.
Do you think he doesn't want the fight?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Why?
What do you think? Do you think he doesn't want the fight?
I don't know if my opinion is.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking.
For
do you think he doesn't want the fight?
For me as a fan, I'd love to see the fight.
Yeah, but do you think he doesn't want the fight?
I don't know. I think Benavidez is a fighter. You know, he's obviously jumped up in weights.
Well, why wouldn't he want to become undisputed?
Yeah.
You know, he's got both belts. I got 2 belts. Like, I got the Ring magazine. Like, why wouldn't he take the fight?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
But I guess your opinion, like.
I suppose you know he's got some big fights to make, and you know there's a lot of weight division. If he can make it, like I see the business side of it. You know what I mean? It makes sense to do whatever he wants to do. So the ball's in his court. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you know, I'm not a disrespectful dude. You know, I don't disrespect other fighters, but that's an easy fight to make if you.
For Opetaia, if you claim to be the baddest man on the planet, the logo on the ring canvas shouldn't matter. He views Benavidez' sudden concern with boxing politics as nothing more than a convenient smokescreen to avoid stepping into the ring with a dangerous, heavy-handed southpaw who possesses the exact style to hand him his first loss.
When you look at, you know, the big fights out there, obviously the big one is David Benavidez. What did you make of his win over Zurdo?
Man, Zurdo made him look a lot better than, you know, don't get me wrong, bro, Benavidez is a great fighter. But fuck. You know, but it is what it is. You know, any of those boys want to have a crack, but I'm ready.
Yeah, the Mexican monster against the Australian monster, that's a crazy fight.
Let's make it happen. I'm ready. I'm waiting for the phone call.
How would you, not to give anything away because the fight could happen sooner than later, but how would you see a fight between you and Benavidez going? Would it be toe-to-toe battle?
I don't know. He's never fought no one like me. You know what I mean? He bashed the shit out of this guy that just stood right in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, well, let's just see what happens, bro. Let's see what happens. Let's sign the contract.
The Benavidez camp didn't just brush off these accusations. They fired back with claims that completely flipped the narrative. Jose Benavidez Sr. recently went on record stating he has actual proof that it's Opetaia's team doing the ducking. According to Jose Sr., he personally reached out to Opetaia's management to make the fight a reality, only to be met with complete silence. He claims phone calls were ignored and text messages were left unread.
I'm gonna give you a little secret. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna tell you right now. Remember what I'm telling you right now. Remember what I'm telling you right now. I got proofs. You know, I've been talking to his manager. I've been trying to talk to him. They're not responding to phone calls. I sent Opetaia. Listen, I know you want to fight. Help me out. Get me to your manager. Let's talk about this fight. You know, give me here's my number. Tell your manager to call me. Let's make it happen. You know, the thing is sometimes, you know, these fighters, they want to fight, but the managers and the team knows that he's not ready for David. So that's why they're not reaching up. And I'm gonna show you, I got proofs. I'm gonna tell you right now. You're only the first one that's hearing this right now. You know, I reach up to them. I call Dana White also. He's not responding. I got it. I got proofs. You know, they're not responding. So what does that tell you? You know, we want to make all these fights. You know, we want to fight, be bold, better beers, Opetaia, the cruiserweight champion. Also, you know that.
Jose Sr. believes that while Opetaia talks a big game on social media to build his brand, his handlers know he isn't ready for a monster like David. He even brushed off Opetaia's resume, bluntly stating that chasing a showdown with light heavyweight kings like Dmitry Bivol or Artur Beterbiev makes far more sense for his son's legacy than wasting time chasing an Instagram fighter who won't pick up the phone.
Look at that. Yeah, because listening to him on social media, him saying that, you know, he's thinking that you guys don't want the fight, and you guys moving down to light heavyweight to fight Better Beef and Bevo are safer routes, he's saying.
Well, if you are to talk to him, ask him, will you reach out by Jose Benavidez Sr.? I have proofs. The dates are right there. You know, why have you responded? You know, not one message, not two messages. Where are you guys? Let's go. Let's make it happen. It's been a while, you know, since right after the fight, you know. But, you know, they're hiding. Like I said, you know, I'm not trying to come here and disrespect nobody. Dana White, I called you a couple of times also. I left you a text. I called you, and please call me back. Let's make these fights happen, you know. They're not reaching back. You know, what do you guys want us to do? You know, at the end of the day, we want to fight those dangerous fighters. You know, like I said, you know, let's sit down and talk. You know, at the end of the day, all these are good fights. Let's make them happen. Let's give the fans.
Just when it looked like Opetaia had found a different path to undisputed glory, a massive roadblock was violently thrown in his way by the sanctioning bodies. Opetaia was reportedly inches away from finalizing a massive unification clash with WBC cruiserweight champion Noel Mikhailian. It was going to be the perfect opportunity for Jai to grab a traditional belt and force Benavidez into a corner, but in a shocking twist, the WBC abruptly intervened. They formally ordered Mikhailian to scrap his plans with Opetaia and instead make a mandatory defense against David Benavidez.
David Benavidez, he beat Zurdo Ramirez in his last fight in dramatic fashion at cruiserweight, become the unified champion. And His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is trying to make the Jai Opetaia fight. And it's being reported that David Benavidez has turned that down. But he's turned it down to fight a guy that has been now ordered. Get this, ordered. He's the WBC champion. The World Boxing Council, better known as WBC, President Mauricio Suleiman and board of 32 members, have now ordered Noel Mikhailian, 35-year-old WBC two-time cruiserweight champion, you heard me, he's been ordered and mandated to fight David Benavidez. He's 28 wins, 3 losses, no draw, 12 wins by way of knockout. He's been ordered as a champion? So the WBC is ordering champions to fight other champions? Since when has this become a thing? I'll tell you when it became a thing. It became a thing when the Mexican Monster, 32 win, no loss, no draw, 26 win by way of knockout, David Benavidez, became the mandatory. He became the mandatory for first ballot Hall of Fame Mexican 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, Saul Canelo Alvarez. And the WBC refused to order that fight.
WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman made it crystal clear if Mikelian followed through with the Zuffa fight, he would be instantly stripped of his title. Just like that, Opetaia's brilliant backup plan was completely hijacked, proving that the traditional boxing powers are perfectly willing to weaponize their rules to protect their own interests.
First and foremost, your WBC Cruiserweight champion Noel Mikelian apparently is in advanced negotiations to fight Jai Opetaia, the Zuffa boxing champion. And yet you have established David Benavidez as his mandatory challenger, and I would assume if he doesn't take that fight, he will be stripped. Can you update us as to where that situation stands right now on Monday?
Yeah, the WBC ruling, which is public at the convention, you were there. It was that the winner of Badu Jack against Mikaelian would be the WBC Cruiserweight champion, would be allowed one voluntary defense, and then had to do the 2 mandatory defenses. This division has been backed up for a long time. So Mikaelian won. He was notified that he was allowed to do a voluntary defense, and it has been 6 months since then. The WBC has been in constant communication with Mikaelian's management and promoter. There have been some issues between them. There were some issues. Alberto Leon had some Zooms at the end. They were not able to come to terms. So when the WBC received a petition from our light heavyweight champion, who is David Benavidez, who won the WBA and the WBO Cruiserweight Championship, to fight against Mikaelian, the WBC ruled in favor and ordered Mikaelian to fight against Benavidez. That is the WBC position. That is the fight that has to take place next, unless there are agreements by both reaching any sort of agreement. But for the WBC, it is Mikaelian against Benavidez.
Fans are starting to realize a grim reality for the Australian knockout artist as his options rapidly disappear, with the IBF actively freezing him out and the WBC openly blocking his attempts to fight their champions. Opetaia is trapped in a promotional no man's land. His lucrative 3-fight contract with Zuffa Boxing is starting to look less like a golden ticket and more like a gilded cage. He is arguably the most talented fighter in the division, yet he is entirely dependent on Dana White's ability to force the old guard to play ball. If the traditional promoters and sanctioning bodies hold their ground and refuse to acknowledge Zuffa events, Opetaia might be forced to spend his prime years fighting second-tier contenders, entirely locked out of the legacy-defining unifications he desperately craves.
Now David Benavidez has an opportunity for another big fight. He ain't gonna get the Canelo fight. He could fight Jai Opetaia, the IBF Cruiserweight champion, 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 23 wins by way of knockout. He will get his Cruiserweight IBF title back because he's taking him to court. And instead, the WBC gives him a way out and says, no, you can fight him. We're going to order that you fight him. Now, not that David Benavidez needs a way out, because David Benavidez, I believe, at heart, will fight anybody. I believe he'll fight anybody. But why would you even give him this option? Why would this be a thing? This is the corruption within the sport of boxing. This is absolutely the corruption within the sport of boxing. That's what this is. You are ordering and mandating that a champion fight another champion? Since when? Damage control. That's it, that's all. I think David Benavidez beats Jai Opetaia, and I think he beats this McCallion guy. I think he beats both of them. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to beat Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. I think he's the better out of both in both weight classes, light heavyweight.
The boxing world is left watching a classic stalemate where nobody wins, least of all the fans who just want to see the best fight the best. We have two incredible athletes at the peak of their physical primes, both loudly claiming they are eager to settle the score, yet completely paralyzed by the business surrounding them. Benavidez is brilliantly using the fractured landscape of the sport to dictate the terms, while Opetaia is learning the hard way that talent alone cannot overcome deeply entrenched industry politics. This frustrating saga leaves us with a lingering, uncomfortable question about the future of the sport. If the two most dangerous men in a division can be kept apart simply because of the logos on their contracts, are we watching a sport built on finding the ultimate champion or just a heavily guarded corporate monopoly? But what do you make of Jai Opetaia's troubles landing a fight? Did he make a massive mistake by joining Zuffa? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.